Welcome everyone. Tonight we have Matt Glover, who is a relationship coach, and like many, he went down a fork in the road, found a particular circumstance that hit him right between the eyes and awakened him to a whole different life, and that life was essentially about understanding relationships at a deeper level. So tonight, Matt is going to share with you a whole host of insights around relationships. So if you're aiming to improve your relationships, you're in the right space. So I'd like to welcome Matt Glover to our interviews tonight. Hi, Matt. How are you going?
Hi, Rick. I'm going great. How are you?
I am doing very, very well. Now, I have a question for you, Matt. Now, you're obviously working for quite some time in the relationship space. So I want to get a sense as to, how you actually, found yourself in that space.
Yeah, sure, Rick. Well, basically, it started when my marriage broke up a number of years ago. I was married for 14 years and I thought it was a really loving relationship, and it ended very suddenly. And of course, I was quite devastated. I wanted to know why it ended, and so I started doing a lot of research and a lot of soul searching into my sort of responsibility in the demise of the relationship. And it was a real eye-opener for me. And I wish I'd known this stuff before. And what I realized was that up to 50% of all marriages end in divorce, all first marriages, but that goes up to about 2/3 of all second marriages. So what I realized was that people are not learning the lessons from their first marriage. They're looking for something outside the marriage to be what they need. And it looks like they're really not finding it. And I thought, really, these people need to work on their own marriage, their own relationships, and themselves. And so I started looking further into it and started thinking, well, I can really help people, with my knowledge and my understanding, my deep understanding of what caused my relationship breakdown. So I started doing some courses. I started learning NLP, and I realized that, all these people out there who feel like their relationship is just not what they want it to be, and they've given up hope. They just think, well, I either put up with it or I go and try to find somebody else. I thought, well, that shouldn't be how it is. These people can be helped. They don't realize it, but yeah, there's a real opportunity there for me to use my knowledge and what I've learned, and use the training that I've been given to help people to create a really, really good relationship, the relationship that they really want for themselves.
Cool. So, so from the perspective of relationships, they're most likely, there's a lot of people watching this right now who really want to improve their relationships, and take perhaps their relationships starting to wane, or maybe they're wanting to spice up their relationship and improve their relationship. Now, with all the experience that you have, if you had to perhaps put 3 amazing tips that you could give people to improve their relationships, what would those tips be, Matt?
Okay, Rick. Well, firstly, I would say probably the most important one is keep working on your relationship. Don't expect it just to remain perfect. Love is not enough. You can't rely on love to get you through. So, people change over time. People change both individually and as a couple. Things move on. There are different challenges. So you've got to continually strive to be working on your relationship, to be understanding where you both are in that relationship, and just to keep moving forward so that you don't get left behind and don't think, well, it'll all work out. You have to actually work at it. It doesn't have to be hard work. It can be fun work, but just to keep doing that to move forward. The second thing I would say is you need to work on the way you argue. Now, people think arguments aren't good for a relationship, but they can actually be really beneficial. You know, an argument will show your partner how passionate you are about something, how much it means to you. So it's really important to have arguments. But when we get to the point where the arguments are getting out of control, where either one or both partners feels overwhelmed or belittled, then the arguments aren't productive. So we need to work on making sure that those arguments are productive. So there's techniques to learn to actually argue in an effective way, and also to develop some repair attempts, so that when those arguments are starting to get out of control, you have a way of just saying, okay, let's take a bit of a break here. Let's sort of re-energize and come back to it later when we're in a better state. So that would be number two. Number three, I would say, is don't think of your partner as the enemy. You know, your partner may not be doing what you want them to be doing, but it's not necessarily their fault. You know, there's reasons behind why people act the way they do. And the problem is, you know, as humans, we like to be right. So if we start looking at our partner as the enemy, then we'll look for evidence of that. And we'll keep seeing it, and then it will exacerbate the problem. So what we need to do is to start looking for the positives, even if they're hard to find. And we need to bring them to our attention and to our partner's attention. And once we do that, you'll find that the positives will start to become more and more frequent, and the negatives may well start to disappear. And then we can start moving forward with the relationship.
Cool. So there's some really good tips. I love what you said in the beginning, that love's not enough. That almost sounds like a title of a book. You know, that you need to really work on your relationships. I also love what you said about arguments, because sometimes we think that having an argument means that the relationship's having problems, where you're actually suggesting that having an argument is actually a good thing. And, you know, and the third thing I equally think is great value, you know, to repair some of those wounds and don't see your partner as the enemy. You know, I think people watching this, just to get those three tips, I think are really helpful in helping people to improve their relationships. So, you know, we understand that relationships from a psychological standpoint, you know, a physiological standpoint, and a neurological, and even a chemistry from a biochemistry standpoint, they can be very complex. And you start bringing lots of people, friends, socializing, work, career, all these challenges. And, you know, my guess is that when a client, you know, is sitting in front of you, my question is, where do you start, Matt? You know, what is the thing that you do in order to start an effective coaching process to work?
Okay, well, yeah, certainly relationships are extremely complex, as we all know. Where I start is I like to discuss with the clients what initially attracted them to each other. You know, go back and get them to remember what it was that made them fall in love. You know, why did you decide to spend your life with this person? And that really generates some positive, so a positive mindset to begin with. Then I want to get a vision of where they want to go, where they want the relationship to be. And with that vision in mind and that positive mindset, then it sort of builds a platform from where we can then move forward and start to work on the issues. Because I feel like if you just jump straight into the issues without knowing where you're going, and with having, you know, all that negativity, then chances are you're going to go round and round in circles. So I really like to start just understanding exactly what it was that brought them together, and then I think that sets a really good basis for moving forward and then tackling the issues that are causing the problems.
Okay, so what about, you know, let's say you're working with a couple, and, you know, their relationship is absolutely, you know, near divorce. Now, I know how long is a piece of string. This can be a very complex question to answer. But if you're working with a couple, how long does it usually take you to help them to kind of bring their relationship back together?
Well, yeah, as you said, it is very difficult because it varies depending on the couple. You know, some couples might just have some small issues that they need to figure out. Others have, you know, years and years of ingrained negative patterns that have to be reversed and changed to more positive patterns. So, yeah, when a couple is really stuck, then, you know, there's quite a lot that needs to be worked on. I have a program which I call a 7-step relationship coaching program that will cover most of the issues. And I feel after that 7-step program, most couples should be in a position where they have the tools, where they know that they can move forward and fix any issues that come up. But, you know, as there will be some couples that will be trickier to fix than others. So there may be some others that may need some ongoing, you know, coaching after that. But hopefully, and what I find is that after that 7-step program, they'll be in a much different state and a much more positive state where they actually feel confident that when those issues come up, that they can actually deal with them.
So what about couples that, you know, are at a stage in their relationship where, you know, it's perhaps a real vicious relationship? You know, do you think if the couples actually want their relationship to work, do you think it's possible for everyone to gain some benefits from, let's say, your 7-step program?
Yeah, absolutely, Rick. Absolutely. If both of the couple are prepared to work on the relationship, I have absolutely no doubt that they can take their relationship to another level. You know, if they're prepared to change, if they're prepared to work with each other, then there's no doubt in my mind with the program, they will go ahead in leaps and bounds and find a completely new relationship by the end of it. If only one of the couple is prepared to work at it and the other isn't, that's obviously a little bit more difficult. But I still think that if you enact the changes, you know, and take it to your relationship, then your partner will, you know, even unconsciously start to react to those changes. And it might take longer, it probably will take longer, but it will still work. You know, it still help the relationship to rebuild. So yeah, ideally, I'd love both partners to be involved. That makes it so much easier, but we can certainly still work with one partner.
Fantastic. So, I mean, from the perspective of couples, you know, I could imagine it would be often much better to work with both partners. Now, for those people who are kind of, you know, preparing to, you know, work with someone like yourself, what advice can you give them to help them to prepare to work with you and, you know, in essence, you know, get the best value from you?
Okay, Rick, well, there's not a lot really. I send out a coaching questionnaire, which is just a short questionnaire, just to give me a bit of an idea of where they're coming from. My main thing would be for the couples to be prepared to be open and honest. If they can do that, if they can come with an open mind, then the whole process is going to be so much easier and so much quicker. If you're prepared to change, I really believe in people's power to change. You know, so often we put people in a box and we say, well, that's just how they are. You know, they're not going to change. But if they come along this process with an open mind, the changes can be phenomenal. And the person that you thought you were with might be someone completely different, because once you know what's driving their behavior, and often they're not aware of it, you know, they can change enormously. So yeah, I'd just say be prepared to be open, really honest, vulnerable, and be open to change. And if you can do that, then who knows, the sky's the limit. Yeah.
Cool. So what about, have you got any examples of, couples that you've worked with, or any case histories, that are worth sharing with people that might perhaps give them some insights about the keys in creating a great relationship, or any value that you think that you can impart right now?
Yeah, well, what I often find, Rick, is people come and they think that the issue is the problem. They think, she might say, oh, look, he won't spend enough time with me. And he'll say, oh, look, she won't get off my back about things, and they think that that's the problem. But what it often is it's more of a values dilemma. And people generally don't know what the values of their partner are. And they often don't even know what their own values are and what's driving their behavior. And it's amazing, once you work with them on discovering their values and they can see how that's driving their behavior, then all of a sudden they start to really get each other. And then they start working with each other rather than against each other. And I find that that's a real huge opening for people, where they can actually then start working as a couple rather than battling against each other. So yeah, that's sort of a fairly common sort of scenario that I find.
Cool. So I really get that I think for anyone to be able to move and really create a shift or a difference in their lives, an open mind is certainly a great place to start. From the perspective of the work that you've done over the years, is there some sorts of secrets that you've discovered, that perhaps is, real relationship glue, or some little key that you feel or get a sense that really helps keep relationships together? Is there anything that you could share with us on that front at all, Matt?
Yeah, sure, Rick. The one thing I would say is, be the person that your partner wants you to be. And once you do that, then they'll want to be the person that you want them to be. So that doesn't mean changing who you are. It just means understanding what your partner needs from you and why. Once you do that, and then you start doing those things, just for instance, your partner might, one of their high values might be to have a tidy house. Okay, so once you understand what's driving that behavior, then once you start doing things that meet that need, all of a sudden your partner will be more receptive to what you want from them. So, and it just builds from there. And all of a sudden, instead of battling against each other, as I said before, you start working together. So yeah, it's just being aware of what your partner needs, why they need it, and doing those things, and you start building a much better relationship.
That's excellent. Well, I guess from the perspective of couples that are having issues, typically what they're doing is the exact opposite of what you just shared. Yeah. It's kind of tit for tat. Because you did that, I'm going to do this. And so what you're talking about is essentially emulating the sort of behavior that your partner would like to see you emulate. And I can always remember someone once said to me that if you want a great relationship, do everything you possibly can for your partner to make them happy. And therefore, the worst case scenario is you'll end up with a very happy partner. Best case scenario is they will start, as you're suggesting, start modeling or copying your behavior. And so they will do everything they can to make you happy. So if you have two people working together like that, you absolutely assured of a great relationship. So Matt, my next question to you is, from everything that you've seen, what are some of the common problems, that you see in your coaching programs?
Yeah, well, as you would know, there's many and varied. obviously arguments are a big issue. You know, arguments where they just get out of control and people don't know how to control them. Also, another issue is not arguing enough. You know, people keep things bottled up and eventually that comes out, and, you know, it either comes out with frustration and anger, or it can come out through an affair or something. So you need to be able to argue enough, but not overdo it. There's also not understanding your partner's love language is quite common. You know, people think they're doing things for their partner and they don't understand why their partner isn't appreciative of it. And it's because they don't understand the love language, because they think, well, this is what I would want, so my partner should want it as well. And it usually doesn't work that way, particularly with male and females, because, you know, they generally have different values. So, you know, that's quite a common problem, and that's something that, you know, you really need to be aware of in order to work together. Yeah, so I guess they're pretty common sort of issues with most couples.
Awesome. Well, you know, I'm really enjoying a lot of what you're sharing here, and I think, you know, anyone who is wanting to improve their relationships would be getting great value from what you're sharing, Matt. So I'm going to ask you to share even more. I want to get a sense of what can someone do if they truly, let's say they've come together, you know, they've just started a new relationship, and, you know, there haven't been any problems starting, or there's nothing going wrong. What would you suggest to keep that relationship quite fresh and keep them both respecting each other and adding value to each other's lives?
Well, in regards to, say, just really continue to work throughout your relationship on understanding both yourself and each other. You know, don't just think that you know someone, you know, when you first get to know them and you're infatuated and you think everything's going to be perfect. You know, people, as I said earlier, people change, and the relationship dynamics change. So I'd say really, really work hard to actually understand when an issue comes up. Don't just go, okay, well, that's the issue. Just say, okay, well, how do you feel about that? You know, actually try to go deeper beyond the issue and try to understand what's driving it. And that way, once you understand that, it'll be a lot easier to solve and a lot easier to understand and have empathy for your partner. So I would say, yeah, always, you know, continue to do that throughout your relationship. Don't ever take it for granted.
So essentially, what you would be doing, you know, going through coaching with yourself, is that you would equally be learning a lot more about yourself and understanding how you work by understanding how your partner works. And so I would imagine a lot of people would grow their wisdom hugely from you. So Matt, I've really enjoyed all that you've shared tonight, and I think you've given a lot of value in the context of relationships. So anyone watching this, you know, congratulations on, you know, hearing from Matt and investing the time to hear from Matt. So Matt, my question to you, my final question to you is, how can we find you? How can we connect with you? Where do we go in order to go to the next level and improve our relationships?
Well, Rick, I have a website. It's www.lovereconnection.com. Through that, you can find out more about me, more about my program, what I do, and on there you'll find my email address, which is matt@lovereconnection.com. Also, through the Life Beyond Limits website, www.lifebeyondlimits.com.au, and click on the coaches tab and my profile is there as well.
Cool. Okay. Actually, what I'll do is I will show everyone exactly how to do that. And so essentially all you do, folks, is there is the page you'll see on lifebeyondlimits.com.au. You will see a whole host of coaches. Included there is the amazing Matt Glover. and just click on Matt's photo and you will then see his bio and all his details. There is his website, which is lovereconnection.com, and there's all Matt's details. So thank you so much, Matt. It's been absolutely fantastic. I think that, the value that you have actually shared over this interview has been quite priceless, particularly for those people who are wanting to improve their relationships. So absolutely huge thank you to you. And it's been a pleasure working with you tonight.
Yeah, thanks very much, Rick. It's been great.
Cool. Okay. So for those of you who want to connect with Matt and learn more about what Matt's about, the websites to go to. And I really encourage you to do the work to improve your relationships. And, Matt has invested a lot of time and research and energy and effort to help couples, bring that glue back together. So thank you so much for joining us. And so it's bye for now, and I hope you enjoy living a life beyond limits. Thank you for watching.